Hi. So if you guys have any issues with the sound, let us know. Like we did before, it's a chill podcast, no strict features or topics or anything that we're going to go through. We have Cicerin and we have Nguyen joining us. I was about to say from Denmark, but you are still living in Belfast.
Yeah, that's my home.
So out of the, but we have the entire Scandinavian covered.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so we got the trifecta going on.
True.
So yeah, again, chat, if you notice any issues with the sound, let us know. Music is still playing.
A tier 1 sub to get monkeys.
I'll just do that and we're good. It's a sub.
Hey.
There we go. Oh yeah, thanks so much for the gifts, by the way, Chip. I appreciate that. Anyways, we're gonna get this going because we don't waste time. Everyone's tired. It's been a long weekend.
Been a long weekend.
Yeah. How you guys doing? How you guys feeling?
Good.
Yeah?
Good.
Yeah,
Tired.
Yeah.
It was a lot to take in. A lot of stuff I wasn't expecting.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we can jump in and just start with the POE1 and POE2 splits, since they did promote from the start that it was going to be two different campaigns, one in the same game at the end, and now they've went full 180 on that and gone back on it. Pros, cons, thoughts about it? We start with you, Nugi.
It's good.
Hmm?
It's really good. Because to me, there's a game I want. Right? Everyone wants their game. Like everyone has an idea of what their game is. And I've always wanted something that was closer to like original PoE, like with the kind of the philosophy around it and how crafting and picking up items. Like I'm someone who really enjoys picking up items, but current PoE really has moved in a way where it's like you pick up the currency, you pick up like the tools, and not really so much the items. So
True.
How do you essentially merge the two visions again to where we get like what they wanted to do from like a dev point of view with POE2 and POE1? Like how do you merge it when you have different philosophies for the two games? Because at this point there are really two different philosophies of how they're designed. And so you're gonna end up with some half-assed merger of the two that's not really making everyone really happy. So I think that they have an opportunity to make like both styles really good now.
They can like go away from this whole progression that they're doing, where they're currently trying to move POE1 into POE2, making it more reactive, and all those things are slowing it down, and people are just complaining all the time. But maybe they can tone that down now, since it's two different games.
And also with power creep in PoE, taking away power. I mean, we just saw Diablo 4. You know, come out. We're like, oh, season 1, and we're taking away power immediately. Like, think about what that would mean in PoE2, bringing it to a baseline where they can build on it again. It would be such a shock to the system. I'm not sure how people would have reacted to that. So it's like it's their one opportunity to essentially get a clean slate. To build from.
No, for
So,
sure.
yeah.
You're on the same boat? Do you have other takes on it?
A very different takes.
Okay, let's
That's
hear
the
it.
thing,
So some people before it was announced was guessing. Like Rice was like, I think they'll split the game. And I was like, no, you're a fucking moron. And then I saw a leak a little bit before. And then the translations there were like really dodgy, but they were talking about updating both games. And I was like, no. And then I was like, this is fucking awful. There's no way they're going to do this. And I see the announcement and I'm like, oh my god, this is the dumbest thing I've ever fucking seen. I hate it. And I was just sitting there in pure despair the first 3 minutes. I think it was the worst decision ever. But then, I don't know, I've changed my mind quite a lot since the initial announcement because of the fact that they said how few devs have been working on POE1 in the last year and a half. Like, yeah, we've had Calandra, but we've also had two of my favorite leagues ever, Sentinel and Sanctum. So the fact that few devs made two of my favorite leagues ever, like, even if POE2 isn't for me and is more for like Noogie and people that like Ruthless and stuff, which I don't think it's going to be anywhere near Ruthless because what we're playing right now was super overtuned. Like I'm definitely already leaning towards like, well, I'll probably prefer POE1, but the fact that if they didn't do this and I hated POE2, I would have had nothing. Whereas now, even if I do hate POE2 when it comes out, I'll still have POE1. So I think it's by far a better solution than what I initially wanted, just because of that. So I think it's really good. Because then this allows for like POE1 to be super zoomy,
Yep.
while POE2 can be slower and like we said, a baseline to build from.
I think that's like very important to look at the progression of ARPGs in general. They always start like super slow. We see it in PoE, we saw it in Diablo,
Yeah.
we see it in Last Epoch and Grim Dawn. And then we have other games like Warframe, who starts at super high clear speed, power creeping. And I just realized when I played it, it looked good and whatnot, but it just doesn't get me going because I feel like this power creeping makes me do the jump, slide, sprint, rotation, and power creeping just makes the game not as enjoyable because I'm not interacting with it. And PoE1 has like reached that point, right? So they get to that stage, and when that happens, there's a lot of fun things there as well for the assuming play style, but you don't really immerse yourself with the world and the optimization the same way. Like you mentioned, you just pick up the tools, we don't loot the items anymore in the same sense. So I definitely feel that's a really good thing. Then obviously I'm a little bit biased with the guide writing. I mean, it's two different launches. It's going to be doubling up on that, so it's going to be very fun. But there's definitely concerns as well, right? There's the risk of one game eating the other with player bases. I mean, maybe most people would prefer that one type, and the other one gets a lot less traffic, and vice versa. But I think it's a really smart decision for them to go through that decision and do what they've done basically.
A lot of people are asking about the well. I agree. I don't get why they want the well so bad. I didn't understand that last ExileCon for why just like refilling in town is an issue. Um, that seemed like something like it should have started with the well and eventually they removed it and just added quality of life or of going like, oh, you're in town, you're full. I don't see the reason to have that.
To me, it feels very intuitive having a well. Like I go to town, I fill up my flasks, especially because we're gonna go more on like reactive flasks as well. So it's like it's a limited resource, and you're filling up the resource. Whether or not you like it, I mean, it depends on like how you. A lot of it, I think, depends on how you approach games. Like
Sure.
like how you invest. Like I think like emotional investment into the game. Am I trying to like extract power as efficiently as possible, or am I like trying to role play? Like there is a because
I'm not a role player.
no, but I kind of am, right? There's a lot of that the moment I can feel myself in the game, as I'm playing the character, that's something I can appreciate.
Like the
Like,
immersion.
it really felt really natural for me to just go to the well. And originally they actually had the well way further, I was told, but they put it way closer. So now there you see the well every time you go out the portal. So you just like you just go over and click.
I wasn't annoyed with it. It did feel like D2. I gotta go to the vendor to heal up. Kind of, that was the reasoning behind it. But I wasn't too annoyed with it. I think that was the case because of the positioning of it. I think that if it was on the side, I had to actually go out of my way. Then I'd probably be more on your side with this on this topic, sis, with it being really annoying and the
It
quality
seems
of life just being,
unnecessary.
yeah.
Another thing that was like probably my least favorite part of playing was the fact that killing white monsters did not give you flash charges.
Oh,
It's really weird.
That
The
seems
monk.
super unnecessary.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm not against a lower amount. Like maybe
Yeah,
it
but it was
takes a lot,
zero.
it takes quite a lot more, but when you've cleared like half a zone and your flask is still dead because you didn't encounter a rare, it's
No.
kind of like I feel like I deserve at least some flask charges.
Yeah,
after
then
all
you
this work.
encounter the rare without the
Yeah.
flask. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. No, for sure.
It's yeah. I don't know if it's just gonna be an adjustment to understand to appreciate the new system because we're so like because you're going to be when you try the like when we try the demo or the beta, you go into with the mindset of a POE1 player.
Oh, for
So
sure.
you have all these expectations of how it's supposed to play and how you approach packs and the systems and how they work together. So it's I don't know if it's a good idea to try and so what they're trying like what they will have to do is they will have to re-educate players. But if the player doesn't feel comfortable with that within the time like before they like it, right? They might just leave. And that is a real concern. It's the same thing with the dodge roll, right? It's very So I really like the dodge roll, but the dodge roll is actually very counterintuitive because in every other game, the spacebar roll is always more speed. In every other game I can think of, it's more speed, but here you maintain you just maintain distance over time, and it's only a defensive tool.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like
I even felt like
it's very counterintuitive
time to stand up at the end of the roll as
And
well.
you get stuck
Yes.
on things, and you
Yeah.
don't roll through things.
yes,
Yeah.
especially for PoE's gameplay when you're mapping.
Mm.
Because when you go forward, then new things come into the screen, and then you stop and you get hit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Something I changed my mind on too that was funny that they didn't talk about during the keynote was gold.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's fully set in stone what they want to do with gold yet, at least not entirely. But from what I was hearing, gold was mostly something that was supposed to replace vendor confusion for new players. And I think that, if that's all they end up doing with it, is a very good thing. So that instead of needing like a armor scrap, a whetstone, a transmute to buy stuff off the vendor, people can just sell stuff for gold and buy stuff for gold. That's really good as a accessibility tool for getting more people into the game.
Yeah, it definitely seems like we had a discussion about that on the shuttle bus yesterday. I feel like there's a lot of problems where a lot of mechanics and stuff like that are fundamental pieces of the game, such as gold. Doesn't seem like they have painted the full picture of what they want to do.
Yeah.
Because some devs that we talked to or that I talked to, they said, "Oh, you can do gold find in the game." Like, whoa, that's a big leap in a very, very new direction.
Yeah.
And then another dev, I'm just saying that because I want to throw names under the bus here.
Sure.
Another dev said that gold wasn't really a thing you want to do in the end game, and that kind of felt like there was like that's two different, very, very different.
Yeah, that's why I don't think they've like
Yeah.
fully decided there.
Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, we are a year out from beta. Obviously, there are a lot of things that Grimmer was very much on myself as well, talking about the gold specifically. Because imagine if the level, what they said was it scales with your character, but if that scales past the campaign, suddenly you'll have these crafters wanting to gamble bases on a certain level, like belts for headhunters, or you need an item 72 convoking one to make it easier to make +2, and POE1 references obviously. To do that, then you have to level up a second character and stay on that certain level for gambling with, and that's But there are solutions there as well, and those things is obviously feedback we would be giving in the beta or just before, right? So it'll be fun to see where they'll land on the gold topic itself.
So a lot of what I hear when people talk about all this crafting and how it's going to be inconvenient and we're going to have to make second characters. A lot of what happens in PoE trade is that inconvenience happens and someone fills the gap.
Yeah.
So that's why one of the good things about PoE, with it being pretty rigid, because PoE has always been pretty rigid with its trading, which is it doesn't allow you to just get everything, is that it creates all these ways of making currency and ways to trade and interact. Right, there was a time where we sold white bases and all that. I mean, that might just come back. It might just be that someone
Very likely.
decides, I'm going to start a level, I have some thresholds, I'm leveling characters to it. I'm just going to buy gold and buy bases and have a whole market, just have a whole base shop.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of the issues that you find that if you translate PoE to 2, that would just be annoying. I think players will just fill the gap naturally and create a market around it.
Absolutely. I mean, I know myself from crafting a ton of specifically ones I'm using as a reference, and they weren't available. So we had to have people that were farming very low level maps and have a loot filter that showed them, and we would just shower them with currency to get rid of that nuisance for us, because it was worth the money to do that. So we can do whatever we wanted to do with it to make profit out of it, basically. So it's like I said, I like the idea with the filling the gaps. That's also why flippers do so much money, because they buy them one by one and sell them to the big crafters for a tremendous amount of money in terms of profit. So definitely, absolutely agree on that. And again, that's within trade approaches, and it's very different for solo self-found in that approach. And I think that solo self-found or in hardcore and whatnot, it can be sometimes hard to find that upgrade on your ring during the campaign. Maybe it's a harder league mechanic, whatever you're encountering, and your ring that you got in Act 4 and you're suddenly in Act 9 and you feel like, hey, I need to boost up my gear a little bit, it's a bit behind, and you can check your gear parts, and you now have the availability to go to the gambler and say, I need rings, it's, give me rings.
Yeah.
And then maybe one of those is an upgrade. And I think that's great. So you talked about Cicerone as well, that it's a good tool to allow newer players to target, not farm, but target acquire what they need for their character.
Yeah, I think that's good.
No, absolutely. But taking aside the topic of POE1 and POE2 split, I feel like it's going to be a good thing, and I think that we agree on that, and it's with the philosophy that they have on it. The event itself, to talk more generally about that, how do you guys feel that went compared to POE, the last ExileCon?
I think it was even better than last time. I don't know. I feel like there were so many people that came for the second time, and I don't know if that was just my experience, but I felt like there was less awkwardness.
Yep.
Like everything and everyone felt so cohesive and really, really good, and just had a blast. Had played the card game so much.
Yeah.
Day one was just so much fun.
How do you feel, Nugi?
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, it's like whenever you do your first, like this, for everyone who's ever done a race, the first time really sucks.
Yeah.
But the second time, it just like, you speedrun way better.
Yeah.
And I think like, I don't. This might be throwing some just like the POE player base on the bus a little bit, but I think learning the having been to one ExileCon kind of teaches you how to interact with other people, and I think a lot of people understood how to interact with other people in the second go.
There's a lot of similar faces from last
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
so fun. Yeah.
Someone asked, also somebody says this is addicted to reading chat, which is true. Somebody asked if they've talked about how they're going to treat POE1 now, and after the split, every developer I talked to seemed to say that obviously like most of the work on POE2, all the hard stuff is being done now, and then once it's finished, there will be more developers going back to POE1, seemed to be what they were aiming for. And like I kept hearing different numbers thrown about, but it seemed to be somewhere between like 5 to 10 developers that have been working on POE1 the last year and a half. And the fact that I had 2 of my favorite leagues the last year and a half, like, I'm very happy.
We talked about it on breakfast. I've mentioned that literally my other 2 podcasts as well.
Yeah.
With the Leafland topic you brought up, like how it's easier for them to design skills. We talked about the animation, right?
Oh, right,
So
sure.
now it'll be streamlined to the point where it's going to be faster and easier for them to do things with POE2.
Yeah.
Which means that if they're able to maintain the quality of content and the quantity of content for POE1 with that small of a team,
Yeah.
I'm very excited for what they can achieve with this new engine that they're working with in POE2.
It really, honestly, the fact that they've been doing so much stuff with so few people made me fucking despair for season 1 of Diablo 4. Literally.
Yeah.
I have no idea how they can do it.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I know Chris talked about it yesterday as well at the dinner. How like Diablo 3, for example, the more traffic Diablo is generating, the more people are playing the genre, the game within that genre, and the more people have literally no reason not to try Path of Exile because it's free to play, and it's always given them more traffic and more people playing the game, and same thing with D4. So it's going to be very interesting to see how much of an impact that's going to have moving forward now with ExileCon on top of the Diablo 4. I don't want to say the word fiasco, but it still got successful.
It's actually really interesting now that like I just thought about it. The fact that both Diablo 3 and 4 that came just before PoE's launches has a it's a buy to play, right?
Yeah.
That means that it's really interesting because that means that people have bought into the concept of the ARPG.
Yeah.
And then when they're searching, they find their free to play game, the better version.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right? And it's like, oh shit. But because they're already committed to the idea of wanting to play an ARPG now.
Yeah.
So it's like they just want to find something that's like good. So that's yeah.
No, I definitely feel it as well.
Actually, like you couldn't want it. Like you couldn't wish for more from GGG's point of view, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's perfect storm every time as well.
Yeah.
D3 now D4.
Yeah.
I was actually I thought that the worse D4 did, the better PoE would did. I mean, they got traffic, right? And the worse the game is, the more traffic it is. But Chris Wilson mentioned that the better they do, the better it is for everyone. And
Yes.
I can agree because it needs a competition. But I've read a comment on Reddit. There was actually a good comment on Reddit, believe it or not. I'm not joking.
Okay.
And he said, D4 is so bad, GGG had to make their own game to compete with.
I saw that. That's funny.
Yeah. And I just wanted them to like, plug in an industrial vacuum cleaner, start soaking up all the market shares D4 just left on the ground. But then again, they're gonna patch themselves up and eventually become a reasonable game. But what's crazy to me is that Diablo 4, it's despite all its issues, the things they do well, they do so well that I'm still finding myself getting 2, maybe 3 weeks of enjoyment out of it. But the things that they did well are literally things that we're seeing in POE2, at least from my perspective.
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah, like reactive gameplay, the immersion. I've never been incentivized to take away the map overlay. And it happened in one boss with a sorcerer. I ran out of flask on one of the bosses. It's the guy with the shot the volatile guys and spawn ads. And as soon as I took away the map, I was like actually focusing on what do I need to dodge. It felt like I had more control.
Yeah. That's also because in the demo we were playing, the overlay has like the side fluff that we don't normally play with.
True.
Right. Yeah.
Very true. But it felt immersive, right? And the things that I enjoyed with the POE2 demo, I just realized, like, when I was sitting there, I was like, these are the things that is making Diablo 4 enjoyable despite all its issues. But it's just a better game, or we're hopefully going to be.
Yeah. The only thing right now is if you look at the demo, and obviously like that means it's worlds apart from what it's going to be. Some people might think that some of the gameplay, like getting stuck on certain things, and maybe the speed of animations and all that might not look or feel as good as D4. But I know how much Jonathan specifically, he just wants immersive, dynamic action combat, and he wants it to be like the best, most like precise experience you could ever think of. And he is like an engineer genius when it comes to this stuff.
Oh, for sure.
So I have a lot of faith that it's gonna be really
I have a while to go for that. I didn't enjoy a lot of the combat.
Yeah.
Act 2 felt amazing. I probably liked Act 4 more than a lot of people did, but Act 3 was miserable.
Yeah.
It was just a perma-stun heaven.
Yeah, I know Rice has some really good takes on stun personally. I don't mind, or some hot takes rather. I don't mind stun being a mechanic in the game. I just feel like if something big is hitting me, a well-telegraphed hit is hitting me, like a big guy coming with a club, if I know he's doing this, that could stun me. I'd rather see that than having these small, shit-stained spiders or monkeys, the small ones. Because my mentality going in, we all had POE1 mentality, went on the Sork. Oh, I got AoE skills. Let's gather up a bunch of them and Nova them and then kill them. One or two too many, perma stun, couldn't get out of it, and you're done, dead. So I think that there's definitely a balance between it. So I'm a big fan of MMO games like World of Warcraft, for example, and I love diminishing returns. And I feel like that's a good balance with CC mechanics, which I think is weird they don't have in Diablo 4. So one of the other solutions would be to have that if you've been stunned several times in a row, they would last for a shorter time. But I'm not sure if that's the play in an ARPG world. But I just don't think that having small units being able to stun you that frequently, that was, any mechanic that, this was Rice was saying it, I'm not sure if I'm quoting him correctly, but something in the lines of, any mechanic that makes your character unplayable for even a second is a bad mechanic, because you could get shot from like across the screen from a spider or one of those things that spits at you and then hits you and you're stunned.
I have an even better solution.
Yeah.
So right now you have your dodge roll and spacebar, and you just tap it, right? You just tap it. What if you hold down your spacebar, you do a little leap, and if ever like your dodge roll or your leap is used to get out of a stun, it goes on a 5-second cooldown.
They didn't want to have any cooldowns, right?
Yeah.
I like the idea though, but I think that
so you
they
can
don't
still
want it.
you can have it as a getting out of a stun. You can just have that split. You don't need to make it so that you can't roll anymore, but just the effect of the stun is gone, right? You can only like essentially jolt out of a stun and get up faster. That they can have without actually applying a roll, like a cooldown on the roll. I don't like, so the thing is, I think they can do better than diminishing returns. I think diminishing returns is like a cheap get out of it, like it's just a cheap way out.
It's a band-aid solution.
So they have so many unique monsters, like there are so many new monster types, and they're really well designed. So there's the spiders that throw nets at you. That means that archetype slows you, but maybe not every monster needs to be able to stun the player.
Right?
Absolutely. They can make it so that a suggestion could be, if it's like a certain type or size of monster, right, a charger or whatever, that can stun you, that also gives you more opportunity to use the, maybe the get up in a better way. you can have all the smaller things have their own unique traits to essentially you need to interact with. Like you could have something that if I'm slowed, you will have the reactive potions, right? If I'm slowed, I'll have something that'll essentially get me out of the slow and make me immune for that for duration, and then you'll have, the effect against spiders maybe, or like all the archetypes that'll net you or stun you or push you around, and you can have like
Absolutely.
specific monster types doing these things to you, so that you will play around them rather than just soak up all the CC and then eventually become some immune, and it's just this weird thing we just keep trucking.
It's like Diablo 4 enemies becomes unstoppable. When you
Yeah, and it's kind of it's like you're just waiting for that unstoppable to happen to ignore everything.
Yeah.
Rather than having that gameplay.
No, I can see that. I know that I'm not very too much experienced with Lost Ark, but one of the things I figured as much. But one of the things there is like you have a well telegraphed ability and it's big. You get hit by that, you get knocked down, and then you have to use your utilities to stand up again, right?
Yeah.
But you don't get stunned by like the random scraps, right? But that is a one big thing. Right?
You can get stun locked.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's PvP and so in PvE, yes. PvP is very different.
Okay.
So a lot of people don't like PvE because there's like, I'm not gonna go in. There's like, it's a difference between like hard stuns, soft stuns, and like things you can't dodge out of. It's very intricate in the PvP part, but it's like you can roll, you can double roll, and if you do 2 rolls in a row, if you don't wait for the cooldown, you get 2 opportunities to go, but then you have a long cooldown. Or you just do 2, wait, and then again, and then you have shorter cooldowns, but you can keep doing it more frequently. So it's a pretty dynamic thing. I don't think we should copy it like Lost Ark is not like, you can't copy it 1-to-1, but they can definitely take inspiration from their systems. To see what they do well, because there's definitely like the whole like get up and out of big stuns can work really well on bosses and specific monster types that they could implement into the game. So that would be really nice.
Yeah. Like I think that we're all in agreement that no matter what road they take or route they take to fix this, it is a problem that anything can stun you. They see you and you're stunned. It's like they give you this death stare and you're like, oh god, I'm stunned already, and that is so frustrating because it stops your skill, your ability to play the game. And when that happens so often, it becomes more of a nuisance rather than an interesting mechanic that you can counter. Because you can't really counter. You get hit sometimes, sure, that's going to happen. But if those hits are stunning you, that's going to lead up to even more hits, and it just becomes very, very frustrating at that point.
I don't think they need to essentially completely reinvent the wheel when it comes to RPGs. Like, people do want to pull bigger packs. You don't need to deny players from the ARPG experience entirely.
Density was very good. Density was very good, even in Act 3 and 4. Actually, it was insanely high. It's higher than what we have now.
The density is actually really good.
Yeah.
You really, because when you go through the forest, you hear the howls like woo, and then they just come flooding in around you. It's just like the getting crowded is a bit overwhelming right now, and the tools we have to deal with it might not be perfect.
So obviously, a lot of people are saying like, "Oh, this is slower than Ruthless or worse than Ruthless," but it is super overtuned right now. Yeah. It's going to be like every dev I talked to was like, it is going to be a lot easier, and it's not even that they were intentionally overtuning it to fuck players. They didn't have time. Like there was a lot. They're still working on this.
Well, Neon does like to turn up the knob just a little bit for presentations. He would rather be able to turn it down than having to turn it up.
And we have shit gear.
Yes.
Yeah. And no access to the skill tree.
No access to the skill tree. Yeah.
I'm personally very concerned like how crafting's gonna go, because obviously they've said like there's most likely not gonna be a crafting bench, so that means we're losing things like meta mobs, which I know you're a fan of losing. But I still like if PoE doesn't end up having deep crafting, it's not a PoE for me. They would definitely be a PoE1 main then. I am expecting that there will be some form of crafting. Obviously, like they're removing scourings. They've basically removed the Chaos Orb. It's still called a Chaos Orb, but it's no longer a Chaos Orb.
It's essentially taking the place of some other thing we have already. So yes.
It's an Ashlane Orb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that. No, in that sense, you're right.
I think it's going to be very interesting crafting wise. Like I like making high end game items when it comes to crafting, but we also have the aspect of that we don't know how much of the POE1 they're going to bring with them into POE2, such as fossils, essences, bestiary. But we know that they talked about removing the crafting bench. It's not going to be in the game, at least in the current iteration. So there's a long list of question marks, right? But I do agree that with it sits on it that it kind of the PoE is part of one big reason that makes PoE, or a factor that makes PoE what it is the level of depth when it comes to crafting as well. Sure, you have to read like 2 Bible-long books to understand it, but I mean that's now. But when we all started, it was easier to grasp, and maybe it is a good thing that it's not too much when they start. But I definitely feel like they need more than they have shown us, and to show basically tell us this is the kind of idea we're going to go for when it comes to crafting in PoE2. Otherwise, crafting will, for me as well, feel like that's something I'd rather do in PoE1 than PoE2. But on the other hand, it does also increase the value of actually looting items, because now people are with the Chaos Orbs. Maybe you have 2 mods that you don't want on an item, but you can Chaos Orb that, and you have 2 mods that you can get rid of to maybe get that one you want.
Yeah.
So, and that's good for casual players. They feel incentivized to actually engage with the crafting mechanic in that sense.
I don't like this idea that so the good for casual players, yes, but it's like, why can't it also be good for, hardcore players, like people who really put in time? It's like it's all whether like the type of crafting you like.
Yeah, there definitely needs to be a balance between the two.
Because I think what they will probably go for is you're gonna have a lot more low to mid tier crafting, and attempting to make things in a way, right? So there's a new philosophy in terms of crafting, which is you'll never downgrade. That's that's a thing they want to introduce now. That's why we don't have the scour. Like everything is an attempt to go up. Yeah. Right. So you find something and you try and build it up, and you try, and you will have way more crafting interactions.
Wait, the Chaos Orb can downgrade.
Yeah, well, not in mod amount.
Okay.
Right. So it's like you can never like subtract things. So you're always you're always building on top of something, or you're staying like leveled. Like the idea is that we don't really go down anymore. So I think that'll. I don't know. I think there's an opportunity here to make way more mid-tier crafting, like more. It's gonna happen a lot more. You're gonna craft a lot more. You're gonna attempt a lot more. You're gonna be willing to do a lot more and changing out things over time. Which I would really like, because it doesn't mean I'm crafting less, or it doesn't. In current PoE, I feel a lot of the time you end up holding out until you have like everything together, and then you're like, and now I have the thing. Yeah, it's not always, but it feels more like that than it did in the past, maybe.
For trading, it does, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I really love SSF in PoE1. And like I have so many concerns. Like I get why people are really worried about PoE2, but all those concerns I have are, I'm just so happy they're splitting the game.
Yeah.
I'm so happy because that like eradicates all that concern. Because if they weren't splitting the game, I would be shitting bricks right now. I would be like, do I have a game? Because there's a big chance I won't like PoE2. We just don't know till it's out. And a lot of the time I worry for no reason, and I there's a big chance that I just will. But now I have both.
Yeah, and they definitely have like two sides of this rather extreme spectrum, because Path of Exile is a very advanced game, even in PoE1, and we talk about how it's being zoomy, more casual friendly, but it's still a very advanced game, you know? But being able to not divide their player base in the company, but rather tell them that what this game here it's the same game, but here's the one version of it that caters to those players, and here's this version that caters to those players. And because of the 3-month cycle that they're aiming for, and staggering in that way allows people to engage with both. So I think that I would get kind of bored if I only had a zoomy play style, every league launch consistently over and over and over again. I think a lot of people feel that, playing trade leagues specifically. And now being able to say, well, in 2 months I'll play, 2 months time I'll play this little slower approach to it, and then I can play the super zoomy for 1 month when that comes out, and you get this nice rotation. And that obviously is good business-wise for GGG, but I think that that's going to work out very well for the player base as well.
Oh, and address something. Sounds like this was all about D4's. I think it was great and fun. It was great and fun for the campaign.
Yeah.
And it's great and fun for casual players. I was very vocal about after 100 hours, I was super burnt out and bored. PoE2 and PoE, like, these are games that are going to be, like, my main games. I have 25,000 hours in PoE. If I only got 100 hours out of PoE, I'd be literally weeping.
Yeah, I think that DJ Bromer mentioned this with weight of your shoulders in terms of capacity to work on a diverse set of games, content with 2 PoE launches every few months. I think that most of his content creators are, if we are excluding the enjoyment and the fun of the game and all that, and we're only talking about the business aspect of it and the work we put in, I think having 2 launches is just great.
Yep.
There's no downside to it. Sure, it might be more work, but I mean that's work we do. That's what we signed up for. So having 2 launches is just a good thing for us. It means more hype, more fun, more patches to go through, new things happening.
Well, as long as the games remain of a high quality.
Yeah.
Exactly. And if now we have the possibility that if one of them just doesn't fit at all, you can just continue with the old school rotation we've done. You can stay in the other game because there's still content you can engage with there till the next one of that one launches, or maybe the other game produces a better version next time.
Yeah, I think with them splitting the whole thing, I don't think it's intentional that it's we can have a different type of content cycle, but I think it is a happy accident. I don't think they're probably not being, they will not go like, oh, how unfortunate that we get to have 2 launches now. No, I mean, they're like, oh, that's an opportunity.
Yeah, no, it's very good.
Which might also make them, as much as, because you might think, oh, we're going to split them off and we're just going to have POE1 still run its course and maybe, but if they actually put in real effort, they can, and I think the game and the audience size is that big enough now to where they can actually maintain 2 really good games.
Yeah, I mean, I think that really puts it into perspective for me is think of POE2 as an insane start for PoE, just but the first time, and they have loads of experience. Like think about back in 2009, 10, 12, whatever, when PoE was just like dog shit. We get to start over again with very little, and they can do like there's gonna be power creep. It's gonna go faster and faster until it's ridiculous, but we get to like start that all over again with so many things. Like there's not gonna be a logout macro. I surprisingly love that change. For those that don't know, there will be like the intended thing is that when you like disconnect or crash, it pauses the game. You're frozen until you come back in, and if you move, then it starts up again. So I like that makes it more interesting for me to play hardcore trade because there's going to be so few people able to kill the bosses.
Yep.
I definitely agree with that. We had that discussion as well last night, and there are ways to go about it that you can't escape. Like logging out, wait 8 minutes for the server to time out.
Yeah, I mean there's some technical limitations they'll have to work through. I mean, I think they'll manage.
But either way, I think that is very healthy for a race scene because if you're logging out, you're about to die. You're logging out. You just didn't lose 1 minute. You lost like 8-9 minutes because you're logging out, and you gotta wait that time. So in a race sequence, it's really good. And people can't complain anymore.
One thing I'm very curious about is will like the base engine they're using, like the graphics, be as beautiful in POE1 as POE2?
I don't know.
No one asked about that.
No one knows.
So I'm guessing no because you need to. So I'm thinking all the assets they don't translate 1-to-1 over, right? So it's like
but character models,
models with that. Yes, character models and all that will probably look.
I think that, and I hope that they
similar,
do.
or I'm not sure, but all the textures and all that is made for POE2,
the
big budget, and I don't see them like replacing everything that we have in POE. Maybe over time.
I don't think they'll replace the campaign, but I think everything else will just now be of way higher quality.
Yeah, well, maybe think about this though. If everything is maintained in POE1, kind of how it is. And then you go into the maps, and it's like different tech, and it's just like things just become more mobile. That's just kind of weird.
It's like another game.
It turns out like as you go through, it's like then you won't have really cohesion throughout the thing. And is it worth it to like have these? I don't know if it will be.
Chat saying they confirm models aren't changing.
Oh, models aren't changing.
But it's also.
Did they say anything? Are they gonna be using the same like rigging system? They are, right?
No idea actually. Can't say. On the other hand, they want to keep path. One of the other reasons they said for not combining the games was that they didn't want to delete a large portion of what is POE1 to make it POE2, so to say, to make it one game. And so they kind of want to keep this nostalgia and the things they built for a decade or more, like having that Path of Exile 1 be Path of Exile 1. I mean, so it makes sense to not do that as well. But
I think. Honestly, I think you wouldn't want them to try and update POE1 to the levels of POE2 because the cost is very high.
Yeah.
And so if you have a cheaper, like if it's cheaper to essentially develop your game and put in the assets, you can also get more bang for your buck, essentially.
Yeah.
So what like, would you rather have them trying to update all the graphical fidelity to the level of POE2, or would you rather have all that being spent on just content?
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, obviously we know the
And
answer to
people
that,
like people get super hooked on like the idea of like, nostalgia and like what do you call them? All the remastered versions or like the classics, right? This is how it's supposed to look like. This is how it's supposed.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting a situation of like old school RuneScape versus RuneScape 3
Yeah,
almost.
we really are. Like, what's better? We don't know.
We'll find out.
Yeah, that's very true. But I mean, at least they're not going down the road of Activision, where they just start selling this nostalgia.
No.
POE1 Classic coming out.
I mean,
Granted, I will admit though, I am enjoying WoW Classic way more than retail. But I think that's because
I mean, there's a very easy way for them to do that with private leagues, so you can buy a patch.
True.
that would be actually really cool.
And with POE2 being out, there might be more incentive for them to do that.
Imagine every
That
league
must be
people
really
are like,
cool.
nah, I'm gonna play Harvest. Guys can buy you that.
I'm gonna play Ritual.
Or Ritual, yeah.
Synthesis.
Oh, Synthesis.
But can you think of it? Like POE1 could just be more of a sandbox experience where you kind of like get to make
Customize
match
whatever you want.
exactly what you want. Yeah, that could be
maybe.
really cool.
Or imagine the events I could create.
Oh yeah.
Another concern I had with the cycle of content that they're going to release is, and from a streamer perspective, obviously we don't play Path of Exile 100%. Majority, sure, but there are other games as well, like Diablo's coming out, we have Grim Dawn, Last Epoch, Torchlight, there's so many different games within the ARPG, and then other games, and we've got a Tarkov fan over here, exactly, and myself as well. I mean, we've all played it, and we all enjoy it. Yeah. So, I mean, we got that approach as well, but at the same time, and you being an RPG fan, I'm assuming you're going to play Baldur's Gate 3?
Yes.
Yeah, that's something we got that coming. So with that said, I mean, with the cycle of POE2 and then 2 months, then it's POE1, and then 1 month into POE1, we got POE2 again, that leaves this little small gap. And sure, Diablo 4 is not going to generate, from what we have right now, we can all agree that we're not getting months of enjoyment from that, but we do have the possibility of a couple of weeks, right? Weeks of worth of enjoyment. But we also know that later this year, Last Epoch is launching as well. Not sure if, I don't think we can say when yet, but I know it's coming later this year at least. And that's going to happen. So where's that going to fit into our cycles of content that we're playing? Because we have so much happening in the ARPG world that it's getting a little bit too much. Because there's no one can play.
I am never going to see my wife and child.
That's what I was saying. So I mean, if you play everything, you will have to play, replayability. So Grim Dawn doesn't have any content that way with content updates, but Last Epoch plan to. So that's LE. We got Diablo 4, we got POE1, POE2, and Torchlight's running seasons as well. That's 5 ARPG games. You cannot play all of them. So you would have to like cipher through which one is worth playing kind of approach, which is a good problem in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, we already do. I mean, I don't know. It's like, yeah, it's only a good problem. There's nothing bad about it, and I mean, people just need to.
I mean, you can still take a break when you want.
I don't like. It's like, oh shit, we have all these games, we have to play them all, we have to content create everything. No, you don't. Pick what you like.
Exactly.
You really don't.
Hi.
Sure, I mean but that's your own choice, right? It's like I didn't play season 1 because I don't FOMO myself into this anymore. You really don't need to. This season, like season 1 right now, right? It wasn't that. It didn't seem to be the best season to play. So I'd rather just spend my time on something else, right? So
True.
if something seems good to play that. Like you don't have to always cover everything. And I honestly, as content, I'm sorry, but like as content creators as well, if you see something that seems to be a bad product that's coming out, don't play it because then you're essentially driving content.
Well, what if it's only good product coming out?
Again, good problem to have. You pick the one you like more and can put more passion into.
Or we do all of it.
You can do all of it, sure. And then
Ramrod told me that some content creator started calling me the corporation, and I'm like, Corpa.
No, I mean, I think it's a good problem to have for sure.
Yeah.
Like similar to your, like what Sis was saying, hello, I'm gonna do everything. Like I've signed up to make guides for D4, like I'm responsible for that. So that I've thrown my dice, it's thrown. Cards are played. Diablo 4 has a season, I'm there. My guys needs to be updated. I'm very picky with making sure that they're high quality, right?
Yeah,
So like I'm stuck in that no matter what I do. But
that's
definitely
more.
wanna play
I
it
feel like
all.
that's more like I'm a businessman, content creator problem rather than I'm a player and a gamer
Yes,
problem.
for sure.
Yep.
From a gamer perspective, if we look past the content creation issue
Yes.
or the topic rather, as a gamer, ARPGs are in a better state than they've ever been in the coming years. Like this
Oh,
year
yeah.
really boomed everything with D4 launch, Last Epoch coming, Torch are starting their seasons, POE1 in its current state, and now the ARPG and then POE2 next year. It's like there's so much. And like you were saying, literally look at the patch notes. If you don't think that you like the direction the patch notes are going, that's
Skip
fine.
it.
I got
Just
these
skip
other
it.
4
Yep.
games I can play, and that's just in that genre. And then most people play other games as well, like EFT wipes and WoW, whatever, and RuneScape and all those things. So it's just a great problems that we're being perceived on as it's raining on top of us. Like that's so much pressure, but it's just good things, right?
Yeah.
It's a great time to be an ARPG gamer for sure.
We're chilling.
Yeah. Well, gamers are chilling. Content creators is just busting our balls off, but we love what we do, so that's a good problem again. But taking those things aside and look at other things that happen at during the event, the race. What do you guys feel about it when it comes to racing in general? We don't have to go too much in depth with the actual race that happened, but racing in general was a big thing with short burst races during the seasons and stuff like that. Is that something you guys want to see more pressure or more attention to from them, or do you guys like where they're at right now?
You go first.
They don't even need to do it themselves. They just help the community more, and we'll do it for them. But either works for me.
I mean, if I don't want to see half-assed things done with racing anymore. It bugs me a lot when they don't like even with this race, right? It was like, oh, there's the unfortunate crash, and they didn't have a lot of time to like play on stage, which was like, it just feels like they can do a bit better, even with like setting up for this race. I have to say, like as a racer, and with the amount of time, like Exile, Tai, and Havoc, like the amount of time, and everyone else who like tried to qualify, like the effort they're putting in, and kind of being, not really treated with the amount of honestly respect, but the amount of passion they put into to really just like that they show for the game. I don't know. I would like to see just a bit more from GG. Like if you want to do the racing stuff, then do it right. You don't have to do a lot of it, but what you do has to be done right. And if you want more of it, I mean, there's tons of content creators out there who really want, like Sis, who really want to like just do stuff with it.
Yeah, I mean, they
Support
spent
that.
quite some time putting money and effort into making PvP a thing. Green Man Dude, Willy Wonka, the casting
Yeah.
of the PvP seasons even, and it was so much pressure on it till they finally, well, I want to say finally because I wasn't a big fan of it in terms of playing it, but I loved watching it because it was so cool.
Yeah.
Similar to racing and PoE, like I've done it quite a lot of it for quite some years, but I'm a pretty good racer, and the casual's down here. But that difference is also the difference between me and the top shift of the layers. It's just crazy to see, and it's so impressive, and it's fun to watch. But it's lacking a lot of. GG is helping a lot with providing tools. I mean, with the gauntlet, for example, obviously you have more background information on that. But it's like they can do more, and I would love to see the season stuffs where you could progress points for rewards like we did back in the good old days. Because that kind of grabbed in a larger portion of the community to introduce them into speedrunning and be like, oh, but you can do it for fun, and if you have time, you can do this. Then you can get some points, get some rewards. That's a cool things to do. It gives content. I think that I really want them to get that back to us as well.
But it's just with GGG. They always try and do everything perfect, big and exciting.
Yeah.
And it ends up they start and they have like these grand things, and not enough people kind of acclimate to it and like essentially join in on it, and it becomes too big for its own good for a while.
Yeah.
And so you oversaturate, or you just kind of burn out the thing, and they burn out themselves because they can't keep up with their own production cycle of the races. So like what I'm saying, I would rather see them if they're doing race stuff, do it less frequent, but always make sure it's good, or work together with other people within the community who can
Yeah, there's
who
plenty
can
of
put,
content creators
who can
would
put
love
up the
it.
frequency of it and can keep can maintain it.
Yeah. No, there's like you mentioned, there are
Mhm.
definitely several people that would be interested in doing that and alleviate a lot of dev time
Yeah.
and money for them
Yeah.
because it's good pressure, good marketing for the streamers as well. So everybody wins
Yes.
in those situations in maintaining it.
Yeah, and no risk to them.
Yeah. And so I mean, there's no reason not to, but I mean, it's easier said than done, of course. But I really wish that they would take that to heart and well, make it reality because I think that would be really fun for everyone, especially with having like these race event, the Hexacon, the final thing, the big thing to end everything was like a big ass race, the top of the world. It's playing there like the best players. We're talking seconds for unequipping their body armor, whatever they're running. That level of commitment or the way they play is so different from everyone else. And then that's it. Then we're not going to hear anything till the next Hexacon, essentially, or outside of the. Thank you for the gauntlet race, by the way. Like my hardcore fix, I get them in those since I've been playing softcore for a few years now. But like, such as the gauntlet races have been really good, as well as another way of that challenge, and people get into it, is loving it. But there's nothing else really happening. There's the BPL events and stuff like that, but like race wise, it's not as it used to be with like the Endless Ledge or the Descent race and stuff like that. Those were great fun, even if you were not good. When they first came around, I was such a bad player. I loved them, and I felt incentivized to become better. And it was so cool.
It's very good.
Yeah. But outside of that, I know we were saying we're going to run a rather shorter one. How about we talk a little bit about the trip, Hexacon aside, like New Zealand? What have you guys been up to? You guys been here for a while, and when are you going home?
I'm going home the 7th. You're going the
Same day.
Yeah.
7th?
Then I play tomorrow.
Yeah.
No, GHAZZY. We did airsoft.
We've been very active.
Yeah.
I've seen that on Twitter.
Did escape rooms. 2 escape rooms.
Yeah.
Food. Lots of food. We went bowling. I went bowling twice. Once with Quinn. He owes me 100 gifted subs.
Oh,
shit.
Pay up.
Yeah.
Holy.
What else? Cinema. We saw Oppenheimer.
Yeah, it was Oppenheimer. Good movie.
Yeah, I missed that.
Yeah.
Shopping, like walking around doing shit.
Not the walk.
Crushed Quinn stream twice. That was fun. Had a sneezer.
Yeah, the sneezer. I promised Chad that they asked me about it. I said, you know what? I'm gonna let Sis tell it. Do you want to share it?
Yeah, I didn't actually know that holding in a sneeze could be bad. And I've been holding in a sneeze all day, and then I tried to I was in the Exilecon what do you call the area we were in?
Auditorium.
And then there's so many people there that I didn't want to sneeze. So I tried to cough instead. So I did a half sneeze, half cough and tried to hold it in. I was like, and I pulled a muscle near my heart really badly. And then I fuck, that hurt. It was it didn't linger, but it was just it just felt like a stab. And then I coughed and it hurt really bad. And I started panicking a little bit. And I was like, what if I just nicked a vein near my heart? And then I start feeling you feel when you have blood loss. And I was things started zooming out and going dark. And I look at my wife and I'm like, I need help. And then everything fades to black. And I was like, oh, I died. I ripped. I literally logged out. And then suddenly I come to and Nuyi, Grim, Helena are all holding my head. And apparently my eyes had stayed open the entire time, they were saying. So I hadn't had a normal I hadn't passed out like people do sometimes, but my eyes had been fully open and my pupils had been fully dilated, pure black, and I had apparently done this or something.
Yeah, it's hard. You're sitting this the entire time.
Yeah, and
you're just kind of trying to essentially communicate something.
I don't remember
very
this at all.
Very unclear. So I shook Sis really hard because Helena turns around, looks at me straight in the face. I'm like, yeah, what's wrong? Sis, he's bad. It's not good. I'm like, what? And I just see his face. There's I don't know. It was almost there's blue whatever. It was there's just nothing there. His eyes were completely wide open. He's kind of drooping. I just shake him to make sure that he's responding. He's I was are you okay? I was no. Okay. And I just run to get some medical
Yeah, it's
attention.
very scary.
Yeah.
And my face was apparently like going to the right, so they
Yep.
checked me like a lot for stroke. But no, they just think I like the blood left my brain. Then when I came to, I couldn't like talk properly, so that was weird.
I mean, it's why you're yawning so much. So the reason why people yawn, I don't know if people know, but
He's been yawning a little bit now, but are you good? You good?
That's amazing.
when you yawn, it's a natural response to get more blood into the brain. So that's why you're yawning so much, because it's your natural body response to like get blood rushing up.
Yeah, people said I was yawning while I was having the seizure thing.
Yep.
So that's weird. I couldn't see properly after.
No, like obviously a crowd started gathering, and like nobody likes having a crowd when that happens.
No.
Like bad things happen. I walked up to Helena. I was like, "Yo, do you guys need help?" And she said, "Nugi's got it covered. Like, I think we're good." I'm like, "Okay, I'm just gonna get out of here, give you some privacy." And so I told these staff up there, like, there's something happening. Maybe we can like give them some privacy. So they shut the doors afterwards and whatnot.
Yeah.
So after that, I had no idea what happened. So I was checking Twitter frenetically. It's like, is he good? Any updates?
Yeah. So for me, it's just I felt like the race needed some more excitement, and I was a little jealous that Tai was the only one to check out the healthcare system here. I didn't want him to be the only one. Like, I wanted to see videos from Tai, like, here's my reaction of the healthcare system. I wanted to do those videos too, so.
Are we gonna see a new emote coming soon with a seizure?
Sneezer.
Yeah, or
Sneezer.
Yeah.
Holy
It was like,
Jesus.
yeah.
Well, I mean, we're all glad it could have been worse, right? So I mean, it worked out, but it's still scary, right? In the moment, it's
Yeah, I felt completely fine like 20 minutes after I wanted to go to the after party, but
no.
Ambulance
You never
made
went
me
to the Masu afterwards with Crip and the guys, right? Were you there, Nugi?
Yes.
You were there, right?
Yeah, we were just kind of chilling, hanging out, waiting
Yeah.
to like hear. Then
Right.
Helena comes around and she like knocks on the window from the hotel and it's like, "Oh, we're in here," and like, yeah.
Because I was literally sitting a couple of tables right next to you guys. So I was talking to Crip. I was like, "Oh, were you there?" I was like, "2 tables down." No, that was good. That was a good restaurant as well. But could have been worse. So we're happy it didn't.
Very, very happy.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I just logged out. Log out, dude.
Did you get like a window popping out, resurrecting town?
It was very scary. I really felt like a simulated death.
Yeah.
Chest pain followed by everything fading out was very very scary.
No.
Chat.
For sure.
If you ever see this guy holding his knees on stream again, just let me know and I'll show up.
And I really thought that was just a myth.
No,
Yeah,
no,
me too.
no more of
When you
that.
told me, I was like, this guy's capping.
I've held in sneezes my entire life.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else you guys want to bring up or talk about?
Just like for anyone who was here, just thank you for being so nice. It was just
True.
another absolutely awesome con to be to.
For
Hopefully they'll make more.
Absolutely.
That'd be nice.
Sis,
I
you
want
feel
more.
good?
I feel great.
Yep. Guys, I promise we're gonna have a short one. We're all tired. It's soon to be 5 p.m. and we all eat food as well. So you guys know these people. Nugian, you can find them on twitch.tv/Nugian. Cicerin, twitch.tv/Cicerin. Both have the same tag on YouTube, if I'm not mistaken now.
Yeah.
Yes. Check them out. I'll have Kiki's post links in the descriptions below because this will be on YouTube later, of course. So do check it out. Hope you guys had a great night, and I'll play some music and put you guys on my intro screen, and I'll be back solo. I'm gonna shift these guys out of my room.
Nice.
All right, catch
Get
you guys
out
later.
of here.
Bye.
Bye.